Hello and welcome to another top 15. Welcome to my first top 15 list, this time featuring the strongest, coolest and overall best fighting game characters. To keep things interesting, there can only be one entry per franchise, otherwise I'd have to do a top 100 list, okay? We'll start with 14 fighters, bring up the honorable mentions and then finish with the number 1 spot. And another thing before we go off, I'll not have any characters from the Super Smash Bros. Franchise in this list, despite my fondness of these games. Sorry Smash, but if Waluigi isn't in, it's not good enough for me either. So let's start. First fighter on the list is the cold-blooded, psychotic brother of Ragnar the Blood Edge, Jin Kizaragi from Blazblue. Choosing Jin over Ragnar for the 15th spot wasn't an easy choice to make, and in the end it comes down to character and playstyle, in which case I prefer Jin. Jin is the brother of the aforementioned Ragnar, and also Saya, his sister. The trio had a somewhat harsh childhood, which in the end resulted in Saya being used as a vessel for Hades, Izanami as it's called, while Ragnar and Jin became mortal enemies and rivals. The overall story of Blazblue is a bit confusing, especially because it involves multiple timelines, and that's always a mess in certain ways. Unleashing devastating ice blasts and crystallized blades across the battlefield, Jin excels at freezing his opponents, thus allowing him to string together unconventional combos and in time devastate his foes. His whole playstyle revolves around this freezing ability, and it makes him quite different to the other characters in the cast. Jin is simply a joy to play, and the character behind the sprite is intriguing in a morbid yet somber kind of way. Following both of his timelines and his ultimate fates are enjoyable, and it portrays Jin as a multi-layered character, someone that may have been able to exist at some point, not just as a simple, straightforward anti-hero. Everything previously mentioned is what makes Jin Kizaragi so cool. I went back and forth so many times for this particular spot, but after much consideration I decided that the 14th spot is going to Ukyo Tachibana from Samurai Shodown. It was almost enough to pick Genjiro, but his story and personality threw me off a bit, while Ukyo is a whole other poem. Ukyo has since introduction in Samurai Shodown 1 been an iconic fighter in the series, suffering from the fatal disease tuberculosis, as indicated by his random coughing and slim physique. Despite being chased by many babes, he chooses a life of solitude, as the one he truly loves, Kei, is of noble descent, and Ukyo's lifespan is limited. Despite this, he continues to fight for her as a sign of how much he actually loves her. In game, he plays as a user of the EI sword technique, or in more common tongue, quick draw. His fighting style is most effective when punishing the mistakes of his opponents, or bait them into doing moves which the player may then punish. Part of why I choose Ukyo is also his unique personality. The calmness combined with his lethality when used properly makes him a worthy adversary for any whom he may come across. At number 13 we have a veteran in the fighting game scene, namely the 10th generation Hagakure ninja Kage-Maru, hailing from the iconic Virtua fighter franchise. Having been in the game since '93, he's undoubtedly stood the test of time and is still the same badass today as he was back then, just with more polygons. The Virtua fighter franchise is full of options to pick for the 13th spot. But if you've ever played any of these games, you know Kage-Maru is an obvious choice. Having been raised as a practitioner of the Hagakure ninja fighting style, a form of Jujutsu, he's not only deadly in the ring, but he's also able to perform the legendary ninja move known to many ninjas, the Izuno drop. His personal story is tragic to say the least, and it creates this persona of a stern exterior but a soft boy underneath the mask. Having been part of every main game since the first, and being the most decorated fighter in the roster, having won the 3rd and 4th tournament, is a force to be reckoned with, a recurring character and somewhat of an icon for the entire franchise. Since I myself have played the original Virtua fighter on the Dreamcast back in the day, I can still remember how to do his Izuna drop, half circle back plus punch and block, perfection. Battle Arena Toshinden is a strange series. One look at it is all you need to be like,
no, fuck no.
But trust me on this one, the games are fun as hell, with weird voice acting to boot.
Yay!
It also has one of the most underrated soundtracks in a video game, maybe ever. Look at this guy for example. You may think that he has strange voodoo, dark percussive mango music. Wrong. It's actually an uplifting synth and electric guitar bass track. Even sounds a bit like Mega Man X later on. Same holds true for the 12th spot on this list, the music part of course. Kayin Amoh, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how I do it, is a blonde, leather-wearing bounty hunter that wields the legendary Excalibur. Does it get better than this? Well yes, he also rocks out on the guitar from time to time, and his theme is straight fire. Kayin is the rival and best friend of the series' main protagonist, Ukyo. And as previously mentioned, his family is descendants of one of King Arthur's knights, hence why he's in possession of the Holy Blade Excalibur in the first place. Watch the opening for the 3rd game and I promise that his cool levels triples. I do hope that this series makes a comeback someday, in some way, as it was unique in so many ways, addicting in its gameplay and goofy all around, with a serious undertone and story. Godspeed Kayin. I hope we meet again someday. Street Fighter EX2 is probably my 3rd favorite Street Fighter game ever made. It goes like this: Street Fighter Alpha 3, Capcom vs SNK 2, and then Street Fighter EX2 Plus. I was so devastated when they stopped making these, until they, Orica, made Fighting EX Layer, a super fun fighting game that I've personally waited for years. Literal years, okay? Years! I think I even broke my absolute rule with this game, to never pre-order a game for this game. I'm sorry about all the games. I was that excited, okay? Partly because I enjoy these more fun-tuned fighters instead of trying to fully balance them. To get to my point, fighter number 11 on this list is the vengeful Volcano Rosso, a unique Italian who references yo-yo with every punch thrown. Now, I see how you could argue for the iconic Skullomania instead of my boy Rosso here, but the fact is, I just like Rosso more, okay? His soundtrack, his stage, the moveset and just how fun he is to play are some of the reasons why he prevails compared to Skullomania. Volcano used to be a member of a mysterious organization, I know, so original. But after his lover died from one of its members, he left the organization and is now driven by his burning desire for revenge. That's it, it's number 11. If you haven't heard of rival schools yet, let me explain. You can thank me later, okay? Rival schools focuses on a large number of students and teachers from various schools. battling each other in their fight for justice. I'm just as confused as you are, believe me. But I guess if you're a teacher and want to take out that stored up fury inside of you, instead of slaughtering some kids, you can beat them in this game. The only thing I knew about the game when I played it was that it had a kick-ass intro video and the gameplay was super fun. Among the large cast we had Kyosuke Kagami, the 10th fighter on this top list. Kyosuke joins forces with the main protagonists, Batsu and Sakura, I mean Hinata, to rescue Batsu's missing mother. The twist here is that Kyosuke, that orange-haired bastard, was behind the kidnapping all along. His style of fighting incorporates lighting and his iconic cross-cutter move. His aura of coolness is unmatched and his anime-style smart guy I push my glasses upwards with the middle finger makes him an easy entry on here. Back in the days when the Nintendo 64 was as popular as the French Prince of Bel-Air, at the top of the developer mountain sat Rare. That even rhymed. Makers of, among other games, Wizards and Warriors, Battletoads, Donkey Kong Country, Banjo-Kazooie, Perfect Dark Zero, Conker's Bad Fur Day and Killer Instinct. They could seemingly take on any genre and make a stellar game. I have little experience with the games themselves, but I explicitly remember a certain someone from the game. A recurring actor in my childhood nightmares, the restless skeletal warrior named Spinal, our number 9 spot for this list. His simple design honestly deceives you by depicting him as nothing more than a skeleton. Underneath that surface shell lies a crazed maniac with a laughter so rending that it'll stay with you forever. I can't understand if you'd take anyone else from the series. Yago, Fulgor, Cinder, Saberwolf are all iconic characters and fighters, but no one is more iconic and fun to play as the immortal warrior Spinal. And he also has a kick-ass soundtrack in the new Killer Instinct, check it out. It's in Swedish. Bloody Roar was a series that I loved so damn much. So I'm quite sad that it isn't alive and well today. In fact, it kinda just died back in 2003. I had the privilege to stumble upon the first game on the PS1, and since then I've been hooked like a fish or a prostitute. Yeah, it's something about older games and magnificent opening movies, because Bloody Roar was incredible. Much thanks to the electric guitar and the iconic mechanic of shape-shifting into beasts to empower your attacks while gaining new abilities. Here's a snippet of the opening. This spot is actually a special case scenario because it involves two characters, Bakuryu and Bakuryu, or their more known identities, the Mole Man from Thundercats. See, the Bakuryu from the first game has his molecules destabilized and he decomposes. He dies. Then his apprentice, so to speak, takes up his mantle and becomes the new, improved Bakuryu. Kinda. In my mind, he's easily the coolest character from the series, and he gets an even higher rating because goddamn ninjas are just the coolest. And a ninja turning into a mole, I mean, that's just badass. The King of Fighters franchise has a crazy amount of games to its name, each game with a large cast of brawlers. The potential pick for the 7th spot should be tremendously wide, but really, there can only be one, and you probably know who it is by now. Iori Yagami is synonymous with the name King of Fighters. Whenever you think of the series, you think Kyo, Terry and Iori, the three kings of all edgelords. And dare I say that I believe Iori to be the biggest one of them all. He has a moon on his back and he has edgelord hair, that's all. So why does Iori deserve this spot more than the others? Iori is heir to the Yagami clan, who way back in the day sealed the powerful Orochi along with the Kusanagi and Yata clans. But he also suffers from a certain curse which makes him extremely deadly, although he loses the ability to distinguish between friend and foe, attacking whoever comes close. In the King of Fighter games, he acts as a rival to Kyo Kusanagi, and despite their surface likenesses, they are polar opposites when it comes to playstyle and moves. He's really a unique character, especially in regards to when he was created. I like playing him in any King of Fighters game, even the maximum impact ones. His wild style and deadly combinations makes him hugely enjoyable. Evil Zone is one of the goddamn best fighting games ever created. And I feel personally betrayed that they never did anything else with the deep lore, fantastic characters and the lit soundtrack, which I still listen to this day. And that's no joke. Goddamn, wasted potential. The game was so ahead of its time, especially with the voiced individual story mode for each of the 10 playable characters, okay? The best character in this game, the number 6th spot, is easily
the power of the supreme ruler to destroy an evil, Zeruchaku Danzaiver.
Danzaiver, while being sort of an overreaction of a 12-year-old who just discovered the anime Yatterman, is still incredibly cool at times. His ultimate attack and his long capture attack, where he literally calls a satellite to fire off a huge laser, still gives me goosebumps. Just take a look.
Log on! Flying grid!
Holy shit, that's cool. I really like this game and it's a shame that it didn't get the footing it needed in the business to continue its legacy. It's one of those games that put the fun first and foremost, and it's noticeable. Evil Zone is one of my personal favorite fighters of all time, and Danzaiver is a huge reason as to why. Friends, enemies. We are now entering the top 5. Only the baddest, strongest and coolest fighters may appear from here on out. So let's take number 5. So, Dan from Street Fighter. I kid, of course. Now, Ryu Hayabusa is an entirely different matter. Aside from being the main character in the long-running, highly praised Ninja Gaiden series, got a video about that game on my channel too, so maybe you should check it out, you know? He spends his free days fighting against half-naked kunichis and old men in Dead or Alive. I feel that Dead or Alive 1 through 4 are simply amazing, and if you're a group of people playing against each other, it just increases the fun. Ryu clutches this spot easily from his close friend Hayate, even though he isn't so bad either. But no one comes close to being as interesting and fun to play as Ryu himself. Exactly as the previous entry on this list, Kage-Maru, Ryu also has his own version of the iconic Izuna drop, and throwing someone from a ledge then executing an Izuna Otochi as it's called is probably the most satisfying thing to do in these games. If I had to pick, the Dead or Alive 2 version of Ryu is the coolest, because that's where my interest in these games peaked, and it hasn't been close to that peak since. A shame I couldn't find his voice actor though, because it's the best voice for him, easily. Being a knight requires a certain amount of things: honor, bravery, a shining armor, a maiden in need of rescuing, and a strong sense of justice. Siegfried Schtauffen from the legendary Soul Calibur series, or even Soul Edge if you prefer that, is not your average ordinary knight. He has no maiden in need of rescuing for one, but he is an honorable knight that got corrupted by the evil Soul Edge and turned into the Dark Knight Nightmare. After regaining his sense of self, he sets out to atone for the sins he inflicted upon mankind while being Nightmare. But now he has cast away the arrogance and cockiness, and shouldered the mantle of a true knight. His massive two-hander shifts the lance as he brings it down upon his foes, and combined with his technical stances he can become a deadly force in the right hands. Extremely nimble despite his weapon. He's always been a personal favorite since Soul Edge came out on Dreamcast, as has Nightmare. Bandai Namco did such a great job mimicking their styles and moves, yet being opposites of one another. Me and two friends had a massive gauntlet of duels a while ago, and while playing as Siegfried it reminded me of why he's still one of the best fighting game characters ever made. His inner struggle and personal story is much like that of a real human, and being able to relate to characters in media is one of the most important things to get right. In Siegfried's case, they nailed it. We cannot have a top 15 list without having at least one character from probably the most famous fighting game series ever, Street Fighter. Picking a character worthy of the third spot wasn't easy. We have so many great ones to choose from. The main boy Ryu, his evil grandpa Akuma, the first video game crush of millions of people. Oh my. Russian stereotype. The one guy you absolutely never invite to any party ever, and the absolutely best character ever, or she would be, if this spot didn't belong to the muscular, blonde dream boy Ken. But what about Ryu? Well, Ken is pretty much Ryu with added flames. Checkmate, atheists. He may not be as dedicated to his training and fighting as Ryu, but I respect Ken's character immensely more. He fights and trains a lot, sure, but he also knows what's truly important in life, and he cherishes it to a great extent. He'll probably always be my favorite Street Fighter. I love the element of fire, and Ken's cocky but still confident personality is how I can be sometimes, which is probably not a good thing now that I think about it, but I'm working on it. Ryu and Ken's eternal rivalry will most likely always be undecided in who's the strongest. But the best of them will always be Ken. Good old Tekken. You know, Tekken feels like that specific cliff you can come back and lean on whenever things get a little bit too tough. Tekken 2 is the one game that actually got me into fighting games for real, and that's the harsh truth. But I think that most people lean towards Tekken 3 as they refine the fighting, the animations and the music, while adding a ton of flair and modes that I still miss in the newer Tekken games. Okay, I'll get right to the point. The number 2 spot goes to the cyborg ninja Yoshimitsu. Leader of the Manji clan spanning hundreds of years, he's a master practitioner of ninjutsu and has a mechanical prosthetic arm. And since he's a ninja, he also has his own version of the Izuna drop. Yoshimitsu also appears in the Soul Edge and Soul Calibur games, yet despite popular belief, he's not the same Yoshimitsu, but an ancestor to the other Yoshimitsu in Tekken. It sounds complex, but it makes some sense after you read up on his bio. Since day one of playing, I have always loved Yoshimitsu, and he's been my uncontested main in every Tekken game released to this day. The two characters that came slightly close to taking that spot was Kunimitsu and Raven, but let's be honest, no one can beat the master himself. He's extremely fun to play, and he has access to many stances and strange moves. Messing up the timing and flow of the opponent is one of his specialties. Since the series started in '94, he's been a massive fan favorite, and he's also one of the few characters that have appeared in all main Tekken games. I think that speaks a lot of how badass he really is. So before I reveal the ultimate fighting game character, I have... let's see... wait... 5 honorable mentions before the numero uno. Let's see who they are.
Ready? Fight!
Winner. Get ready. Fight.
Burning attack! Beat it! Melia wins.
So, folks, we are here. Who's worthy to claim the spot as the absolute best / coolest / most badass fighting game character in history? Well, since this list is entirely my opinion, it's clear who deserves the number 1 spot, and that very someone is Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Or if you prefer his real name, Hanzo Hasashi. He and Sub-Zero have always been iconic for not only the fighting game community and genre, but the entire gaming world, both for good reasons and less good reasons. Along with Raiden and Sub-Zero, he has the distinct honor of appearing in every generation of Mortal Kombat games as a playable character, along with his legendary spear and associated quote. Coined by one of the creators, Ed Boon himself. What's really interesting about Scorpion as a character is that he isn't inherently good or evil. He's mainly driven by his own ideals and goals. Having his entire clan, friends and even family killed by the evil Quan Chi, who in turn framed the Lin Kuei clan, including the Grandmaster Sub-Zero, starting their never-ending rivalry. Not only that, but then he's resurrected and used by Quan Chi, the bastard, as a spirit of vengeance. Only after years of struggle and soul searching does he manage to accept the past and make peace with the current Sub-Zero, and finally reviving his clan. Not literally though. Both him and his rival Kuai Liang, the younger Sub-Zero, has been through so much, and yet they still hold true to themselves, growing throughout the ordeals and accepting their past, not letting it define them. This is what makes these characters, and Hanzo especially, so alive, and it's also what makes them last through the ages of Mortal Kombat. The number 1 spot is once again the Grandmaster of Flame, Hanzo Hasashi from Mortal Kombat. Thank you for watching. As always, it has been said before, but it needs to be said again. My list, my opinions. If you have your own list or own best fighting game character, don't hesitate to mention them down below in the comments, and subscribe if you want more gameplay, video game recommendations, top 10s and more videos. I have many things planned, and I'll be here for a while. Hope you have a great one. See ya.